Hello, everybody. It's Spice Must Flow. I'm back again, and today I'm going to talk about white privilege. Dun dun dun. Um, what is leading me to discuss this today is a couple days ago I was at a bar I like to sing karaoke at, and I was speaking to a couple of folks, and there was a woman I know I've met her before who was discussing a guy she works with who is a white man. He's a straight white male, cis straight white male, right? Sort of thing. It's how she talks this way because she went to college and they taught her, poison. Um, and so basically, she's having this conversation with another gentleman, and I'm listening because I don't want to ruin my evening, like basically telling her she's full of it. Um, Although it was hard not to, but but at any rate though, so she's talking about this guy who she works with and saying he's a white male, straight white male, so he's privileged. He has all this privilege. He cannot understand um, any other experience. And it kind of occurred to me. I know both of these people. Like I know her. I know the guy she's talking about. And it's intriguing. It was more of something that I've seen a lot out there, and that is the only white people that really believe in the concept of white privilege are the white people that have stuff, the white people that are actually privileged, right? White people that don't have anything, they don't believe in white privilege at all. And the reason why, how can you? Your whole life has no privilege to it. But it's an easy sell. You think about it, if you are an upper middle class white person, um, and you feel some amount of guilt, um, and somebody says, well, yeah, it's you have this stuff because you're white. I mean, you would have never pulled that off otherwise, or at least it would have been more difficult. It was like it was like life was set on the easy setting if this were like a video game. That's how that worked, right? The guy in question, here's the interesting thing about it. The guy in question isn't like he's like from a West Virginia trailer park and his mom's on Oxy or something like that. He's just a working class guy whose parents were working class guys, whose parents were working class, folks, right? And not only that, but they are um, red-blooded Americans, if you will, who had a better time of things in the past. The family's kind of gone downhill, right? At least in terms of like the quality of their lives. He told me at one point in time that he voted for Trump, but he didn't want to let any of the people, where he worked know about it because so many of them are gay and SJW and everything. And I kind of yucked it up with him. I'm like, yeah, it's why you really need to get into skilled trades. Uh, but so we're in talking to him and knowing how he thinks and knowing how this girl thinks. And also knowing that she was raised Catholic, though she is most definitely not. She's like agnostic, atheist, whatever it is that is now. That's another thing I've noticed, right? Is that Catholics are especially susceptible to this concept of white privilege. The reason why they are is because Catholicism teaches original sin, and original sin is a lot like white privilege. Okay, it's something you're born with. It's not your fault per se, right? But you have it, and you're condemned because of it. And you need Jesus, right? It's what the Catholics, a lot of Christians believe that, right? Well, what are SJWs? What are you believing in the white privilege? You're believing, oh, well, if you're born white, you're born with this stain, which is white privilege. Okay, and you didn't do anything exactly yourself to get it. Historically, it's what happened that got you that white privilege. But you have to do some mea culpas in terms of acknowledging and that white privilege. Okay, which is kind of like I don't know, sort of like acknowledging you're a sinner and then like coming to Jesus and that sort of thing. So you replace religious concepts in a classical religious thing, a classical religious scheme, if you will, for a secular religious doctrine that also is equally, it's based in nothing real, right? Or at least it's based in nothing that you can prove scientifically. Okay, there's no way to prove that white privilege exists. In fact, you can more easily disprove it, actually, because it's specific terms, right? If white privilege exists and it's real and it's such a strong and powerful thing, then why are there so many poor white people, and why are white Americans as a whole kind of coming apart at the seams, right? I'm not saying other communities aren't. Black Americans are by far in the worst spot of anyone in the country, right? But white Americans are also falling down too. So, if both are falling down at the moment, right, and they're kind of coming apart, I would say Black America is it's just about done, right, in terms of that. White America isn't that far behind them. They're maybe 20, 30 years behind them on that, unless something turns around. So why this concept? And the answer is something I'm going to bring up. This isn't meant to be a hugely long video. I'm just simply introducing this now. But you want to look it up. But look up Yuri Bezmenov. Yuri Bezmenov was a Soviet defector. Okay, he was a KGB agent, and he defected to the CIA in the 1970s, and eventually got citizenship in Canada, and since has disappeared. We don't know what happened to him. I know I've said that sounds kind of weird, but I mean, like, literally, you can look the guy up. Yuri Bezmenov. Okay, and he discusses that one of the big things the KGB did, one of its specialties, was to attempt to infiltrate a society and try to change social conditions within it. That was one of the big things that communists were about. And they would try to wreck the underpinnings of any society, because they believed that was better. That was a better plot in a lot of ways than simply targeting, a given structure within a government. Instead, try to take everything down. The other thing you might want to look up is the Frankfurt School. This whole idea of white privilege, okay, of critical theory, where you're critical of virtually everything in Western civilization. That comes from the Frankfurt School. You want to look that up as well. But that's why it is that some, rich white chick was at a bar talking about how some poor white dude who likes Trump can't understand what anybody else is going through because he's privileged. Even though he's not privileged, his parents aren't privileged, his life kind of sucks, really. I mean, and nobody can look out for him, really. And that's kind of, I don't know. I mean, like, when you really think about it, if you can convince a group of people that 2 + 2 = 5, which is really what's going on here. People being convinced of things that are not true. Not only are they not true, but they're demonstratively false. If you can convince a group of people to accept these things that are not true as if they are true, I mean, that's an amazing amount of power. That is some real Orwellian stuff. But this is just kind of the first video. This little snip between those two kind of led me to to think about it and to make a little video about it. I'm going to talk about cultural Marxism and the Soviets and their plans in the United States and what they did. And before anybody goes there and says, yeah, but the Soviet Union's long gone. Okay, I don't know if you know that this is a thing from science, right? Real science, not whatever Bill Nye, the genocide guy, is talking about right now. But there's a thing from real science. If you cut off a cockroach's head, it'll live after that. It'll run around. It'll survive until it starves to death, right? Because it can't eat anymore. but it'll somehow still move around. It's not like chopping off the head of a mammal or a reptile or a bird or something, right? That kills a more advanced organism. Well, that's kind of what happened here. The Soviets had this societal plan, okay? Um, so when the Soviet Union died, that was like the head getting cut off. You know how long a cockroach can live without eating? About a year. It's a huge amount of time when you think about it after you've been decapitated to stay alive. Well, that's the thing. Soviet Union might have ultimately like gave up the ghost in 92, 91, 92 in that time period, right? But these people are still out there. They're still true believers, and they're still working for the destruction of Western civilization. And kind of like some sort of headless corpse, they don't even understand why they were on that mission, or that the Soviets were probably going to kill them all after they had taken over anyway. Um, but this is what we have to deal with now, and it all connects back. The violence you see at the campuses, in various places in America, especially at Berkeley. Okay, the advocacy of destroying the nuclear family, smashing the gender binary, like these things that make no sense at all are a horrible idea, and basically just they're stupid. They're so stupid. You would be like, why do I even have to discuss this, right? Well, they all began there. They all start with critical theory. They all start with cultural Marxism. They all start with various communist plots. But as I said, I'll talk about more of this in the future. But I try to do at least one video a week, and that's largely just a consequence of how much I work right now. But I still try to do at least one video a week, so here we go. At any rate, though, I'll come at you guys later, say something, and of course, as always, furthermore, I consider Islam must be destroyed.